Hello everyone, my name is Jake, and this is the Nerf Mega Magnus. The Nerf Mega Magnus is a Springer blaster that was released back in 2014 by Hasbro as a sub-series to their elite line of Nerf blasters, all of which fired these Mega Darts. Now, it didn't fire these ones exactly, these are the Busby Mega Darts, but both types of darts are interchangeable, so I'll be using these for the rest of the video. Also, after digging around in the internals of the Vulcan I disassembled in the last video, I found this piece here. It'll actually fit a Mega Dart in it just fine. But speaking of Busby, today we're focusing on the Busby Baron. I already have an existing video I did on the Baron that you can watch here or by clicking the link in the description. In short, it's one of only 3 existing Busby blasters that fire the Mega Ammo type. They're not nearly as common as the Magnus, but not so uncommon to be rare, but just hard to find. So I did the obvious thing that you would do with a hard to find blaster and modded it. So far, the air restrictors and dart posts have been removed, along with an upgraded spring and improved air seal. In today's video, we're going to be doing some maintenance, giving it a weighted grip. Let's get started. To get into maintenancing, the first thing we got to do actually is open the blaster, which is very simple. We have 2 screws to take out here first on the prime, and then I'm pretty sure there's like 6-7 screws in this thing in total. There is a clipped piece of plastic back here that we'll deal with when we get there. Outside of that, it's very simple, but because there is some pre-compression on the upgrade spring I have in here, there is the possibility that I could just send that straight through my wall. So we'll find out in a second. Also, still a little goober. I actually need my my magnetic dish. There we go. All right, that's every screw. And let's see if I can just get this spudger and take off this clip. Pops off just like that. Oh, actually, it might have broken, but that's fine. That's fine. Right, let's see about getting this all off. Oh, damn. I'm glad I at least got that on camera. This is the spring that we have here. I don't know what this came from. I want to say this came from a Chronos, but I think the Chronos spring is a little shorter. Either way, it's pretty beefy and it launched some stuff. Let me gather myself. So before we move back into this section of the blaster, I actually want to look at the barrels that we have here and ask a question to anyone that has ever modded a Baron themselves. I did remove the dart posts, and I think the air restrictors are removed because there are these things you probably can hear. There is still a spring in there, but I think that could just be the dart detection system, if this even has one. Because I probably could drill out these holes a little bit more and get even more airflow. But again, I'm not entirely sure on that. So anyone that's wanted a Baron before, if you know whether or not that's safe, let me know. If not, I'll just stick to this because it performs just fine. But now let's get into the actual maintenance. So remove the entire plunger tube. And then in the back here, our padding is doing just fine. The lube is a little crummy. The reason for this padding is because with the upgraded spring, this just slams right into the back, or I guess right into the front of the plunger tube, and that could damage it. So to try to reduce damage, you pad it so that it cushions the blow a little bit. I also have a tighter O-ring on here. So we can take that off, along with some what is this, plumber's tape, I think is what it's called. I forget exactly, to try to increase the seal as well. The seal is not great, but it works just fine. So taking the O-ring off again, I think what I'm actually going to do is clean the O-ring, clean around the plunger tube, put some new lubricant, maybe even replace the O-ring fully, and see how that does. See, this one's maybe a little too tight. So this is the one that we have. That'll go over there. I already tried this one. This one is a no. And we'll keep this one as a maybe, what else we got in here? What if we use this weird little white one? Actually, this might have been the one that it came with. Let's see, that fits on there pretty nice. This might just be... no. That's not good. Like a hot dog down a hot dog maker. We're better than that. Don't make that joke. So I think we're just going to stick with this first one that I showed you guys in terms of a replacement O-ring. This one will just get cleaned off and thrown back into my spares. And then I'm also going to wipe around this, put some new lubricant on, and we'll see how that runs. I'm just smear some of this stuff on there good. Just do some of that. Do some of that to lubricate the plunger tube. And then a little bit of ASMR. Oh, sorry. Wait. A little bit. Hey. What? Haha. The method we'll be using to weight the grip on the Busby Baron is going to be using a mix of smooth cast and metal BBs. Mr. Walmart provided us with some Dixie cups to mix up our smooth cast. And as you saw, we have some Daisy premium grade BB count 2400. These are 1.70 or 0.177 caliber. It doesn't matter. They're made of metal. They're very heavy. And that, along with some smooth cast, is going to weight the grip very nicely. While I do enjoy the Baron over the Magnus does have better plastic quality. It's a lot heavier. So the Busby, not only will this add weight, it'll also reinforce the shell a tiny bit. Also, just to discuss the Magnus versus the Baron a little more, if I haven't said it yet, I do prefer the Baron over the Magnus, simply because the Baron is just so stupidly simple. And opening up, it looks a little scary, but once you understand it, it's very easy to work with, as opposed to the plunger tube system and the internal magazine of the Magnus. It's a bit more of, I guess it would be a bespoke sort of blaster, whereas the Baron was meant to be just as cheap and simple as possible, and I really appreciate that. And now, just to save me some steps for tomorrow, let's go get the smooth cast. Now, I know what you're thinking, Jake, why are you huddled down next to a pile of trash? Well, it's because I own the trash. Trash gang represent. For a good while until I moved my desk, this mountain of stuff was just in the background of videos, and I'm kind of glad it's not in the background of videos anymore, but it's still very much in the room. And to explain what this is just an assortment of stuff that after a year of moving into this apartment, I still have yet to unpack or find places to go. And a lot of it is also just a lot of Nerf blasters and unfinished projects that have just, again, nowhere to go. We've got my hats. We've got Puppy Cat, get your fat ass out of here. This hamper here has most of my long arms. We got the amethyst spike, which I'm going to return to one day. I got the target that Dead Man's Foam sent me. Thank you, Dirty D. Got this Hershey box that has all my Busby shells in it. We got some ammo. We got a lot of stuff. But the smooth cast is right underneath Ramsey in this box at the very bottom, because of course it is. Get Ramsey out of here. He's actually chilling in my Mega XL dart storage. Speaking of which, I actually have no idea where Cynthia the axolotl is. I'm actually a little worried that I haven't seen her in a while. She might have gone on a little bender. I don't know where she's at. This box here has some magazines and different ammo types. Also, I don't want you guys to think that I'm just a hoarder, even though I'm pretty close to it. I know everything that's here. I know where it is. I know how to get to it. And we are planning to get a storage unit very soon where I can keep the stuff that I don't immediately need. So when I do need it, we can just take a drive and I'll grab it then. All right. Smooth cast. Let's go back to the table. So smooth cast. I won't go too much right now into how this stuff works, but it's a two-part concoction that makes this liquid plastic. And when you pour it into the shell of a Nerf blaster, it'll flow all throughout, fill every nook and cranny, and it'll harden. and it'll add weight and structure to the shell. And when using BBs like these, it adds a whole lot of weight. Now, according to Uncle Vile or Vile Mods, I'll leave a link to his Twitch channel down in the description. I learned this method from him. He says that Smoothcast does not start to go bad until you actually open the cap, pop the seal, and it's open to, open air. So the shelf life on this thing should still be just fine. I have owned it for a good while now, with plans to use it in something else, but it'll do obviously just fine for what I'm doing here. All right, and with that, it's past midnight. I'm gonna go get some cookies, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay, guys. So without trying to fake anything, I'm gonna just be honest. It's not tomorrow. It's actually been 2 days since the last time you guys saw me. Um, I'm admittedly losing a bit of steam here at the end of the month, but project is on the table. We can still get it done. I still want to get it done. Yesterday I literally did nothing. We got the car sold. That was about it. And then had an early morning today taking Bianca to get an ultrasound. Had some really good tacos when we got home. And now it's time to get to work for real this time. So before we can actually get into busting open our smooth cast over here, first we gotta plan out where we're actually gonna pour this. So I think right all in here will end up being pretty good. I probably could also fill up this section here and this section here. Ideally, I would want to fill this up a little bit, but that might interfere with the trigger. So we'll see about that. And the other thing we got to do is mark up the plastic a little bit so that it has a bit more to grab into. So I'm just going to score it in there a little bit. All right, so that should do good enough. Now we have our pipettes and a scale here so we can measure out exactly how much this is going to be. Vile said that you can get away with a 1-to-1 ratio, but he tries to be a tad under with the B part. And this is my first time doing this, so we're just going to have to fuck around and find out. Alrighty, so to be totally honest, I'm actually doing this for the second time because the first time I didn't think I mixed enough and I got worried because the scale wasn't picking it all up properly. But we have the scale here set to ounces, so place the cup on there, zero it out just to be safe, open this up, and we're gonna mix a little more than I did the first time because it literally was like maybe just 1 ounce. So we're gonna do a little more this time. Okay, so the scale right now is showing that we are at 0.1/10 of a gram. And so I think we're gonna go with 0.100 of part B. Alrighty, so I've measured, mixed, and now we have a few ounces in this cup. It's actually getting warm, the chemical reaction. It's very interesting, but we have our prepared piece of plastic here, so we're just gonna pour a tiny bit in to start, see what happens. Our BBs. Let's take just a handful. Drop them in there. So keep in mind, this is the first time that I'm ever working with Smoothcast. I don't make models, and I've never used it in Nerf really in any way before. But just to give you guys an example, like I said, this is the second time that I've mixed some up, and it hardened really, really fast. And it's really, really warm. And this is the first cup that I mixed up, and I've stuck my pipettes in here. And yeah, this is what happens afterwards. I didn't realize how fast you had to work with this, but I think with what we have in here so far, I think we can actually add maybe even a tiny bit more. All right, so it took a little longer than it probably should have from my first time, but this is the end result of the Smoothcast. This looks really cool. It feels awesome. Like, it adds, I knew it was gonna obviously add a lot of structure. It adds so much. And I unfortunately don't have a scale, so you're just gonna have to trust me when I tell you this thing is heavy now. It's got a nice thunk to it. Couldn't do this before. It's so bottom heavy, it actually stands straight up now. It wouldn't do this before. Again, you just have to trust me. I'm sorry, but oh man, I'm really happy with this. It's just really, really cool watching it harden and kick off. once that heat kicks in and it starts to harden, it's really, really cool. And while I was off camera, I got some tips and tricks from Vile again to make it a bit easier, so the next time I do this, I have those in my arsenal as well. And now with that, all that's left is to put this back together. All right, so this in total is probably around maybe 10 to 12 grams worth of smooth cast. I want to say between 10 12 grams. I don't know how much the BBs themselves weigh, but they add a lot. And I have this all laid out here because I said earlier that the Baron is a stupidly simple blaster. So I want to just count all the pieces that go into this thing. So we'll count each half of the shell as one piece. And this catch mechanism is just fine staying in the blaster. You don't need to take it out for anything. So we'll count that as its own piece. That's 3 pieces so far. We have the trigger, that's 4. Trigger spring, that's 5. Then we have this clip piece that goes on the grip, that's 6. 7, 8 is the plunger tube and plunger rod. This is the return system and rotation mechanism for the plunger tube. That's, I think, 9, 10 with the spring, and then 11 with this ring that the plunger tube goes through that acts as a spring rest, and then the barrel and the pump. So that's 12, 13 pieces maybe, plus only 6 screws. Yeah, this thing is amazing. Plus, as I said in my video on the Baron, this thing came out for $5. And at some places, you could even get it for as low as $2, $3 with a sale. These things were stupidly cheap. I don't know how there's not more of these than there are Magnuses. But they're just amazing blasters. If you had the chance to pick one up, make sure you do. I prefer over the Magnus for this very reason. So here it is now, all put back together, minus this piece that's supposed to go right here on the grip. The clip snapped off and now it doesn't want to go back on. That's all right though. It actually is a bit more comfortable without it. And the weight, now that it's fully assembled, makes such a huge difference, because before all this weight in the back, it was very front heavy. Now it's feels a lot more well balanced. It's just premium. It feels great. I wanted to show the assembly of putting it back together because of how simple I made it sound, and it is really simple. If you open one yourself, you'll see it's pretty straightforward after you get to know how it works. But there's just so much pre-compression in the spring. I needed all of my focus into just that, and it didn't make it for a very entertaining video. So hopefully very soon, actually, I should be getting another one of these stock, and then maybe that one will do a deep dive into the internals, maybe even do a comparison directly to the Magnus. Unfortunately, I don't have a scale, so I can't tell you exactly how much this thing weighs, and I also don't have an FPS reader yet, so I can't tell you how hard it's hitting, but I promise you guys this is very heavy, it feels very nice, and we're going to see in just a second that it does hit very hard. If I was a bit more patient and maybe not as tired as I am right now, I might have waited until tomorrow to possibly get some outdoor footage, but currently it's 10 o'clock at night, and this is the best I got, so we're just going to shoot Ramsey with it a couple times. Finding out why the chicken crossed the road in 3, 2, 1. Oh, has a loose fit. It's hard to describe, but after adding that weight to the back, priming it somehow feels a lot smoother. That one had a loose fit, so it didn't go quite as hard, but do one more time. I love this. Even if I don't need to add extra weight to a blaster, or even if a project doesn't need more rigidity in the shell, I would add smooth cast to it just because it's fun. This was really, really fun to do. Another activity knocked off the to-do list for this October. We're coming to a close. Halloween time is coming soon. Spooky times. This is the 3rd video this month. I got a lot of stuff done. Had a lot of fun making those videos. Had a lot of fun making this video. Had a lot of fun participating in build days. I'm really tired now though, so I'm going to enjoy these last few days of October. And I'm going to carry this motivation. And I'm going to carry everything I've learned this month into the rest of the year. And like I've said before, possibly even some lifestyle changes. To anyone watching this that may have also participated in build days, I hope you guys had a great month. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.